Okay, we're live. I know we're all excited. We're just as excited as you guys, trust. But we got to let it breathe just for a moment because Facebook, they're excited too. We got to rope them into this convo and the Instagrammers. And welcome in. It is the Mile High Huddle podcast. I'm your host, Chad Jensen. And with me is my fellow football priest. You know him, you love him, Zack Kelberman. Zack, today we finally got a chance to see the Broncos on the field a little bit, hear from Coach Sean Payton and several players, including Bo Nix. And Sean Payton, dealing with a hoarse voice, says he's like, hey, have you been just hollering? Did you lose your voice from hollering? He's like, no, I've been sick. So he's been under the weather, but powering through. Finally, though, it felt good, Zack, to have a little bit of activity and things happening today, right?
Yeah, that's why I'm pretty happy to start the pod, Chad, because we actually have stuff to talk about. Legit football activities were taking place at Broncos Park, powered by Common Spirit, Chad. Bo Nix was out there. The whole team was out there, minus a few that we'll get into today, but it was so nice to see a semblance of football season return.
Hey, guys, just real quick. StreamYard, the platform we use to stream to all of you, whether you're on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, wherever you are, has been doing some weird stuff today. When we logged in, the whole setup looks different and the weird things have been happening since. So if you notice anything weird, I freeze up, Zack freezes, weird things, please let us know in the comments because we're trying to stay on top of that. That's just a quick aside. But Zack, to get us rolling, let's grab the Papa Bear, David McElrath, jumping in with the super chat before we even went live, as is his way. Much love and respect, big dog. Thank you. He says, good evening, Broncos country, Chad, Zack, and Deacon Scott, hashtag 13 and 4. God bless the USA. Let's go, Bo. MHH for life. Buckham times 3. Denver Broncos for life. Dude, I had someone DM me not too long ago that complained that we read the hashtags. And I'm like, dude, what do you care? It's like fractions of seconds shaved off your life. Oh, what were you going to do? Like with fractions of a second that you can't get back. This is what our supporters who throw down generously, like the Papa Bear here. This is what they want to say. I'm going to read it. Now, unless it becomes like overly redundant, then, or it's a naughty. If there's a naughty in there, I can't read it. I'm obligated. Thank you, David. Sam Bam, what's going on, brother? Great to see you.
Thank you, Sam.
The generous super chat, helping us get going, real hitting the ground running, so to speak. Appreciate you both. Sam says, evening, guys. As OTAs begin, I'm mostly glad that the Broncos have a quarterback and head coach going into their second year together. I think Nix and Payton will be the quarterback and head coach combo for quite some time in Denver. Go Broncos. I do too. And it's nice. Like, this was something that we've mentioned before, but it was reinforced and brought back, for me anyway, Zack, to the fore today. Forgive me, I can't remember who asked Bo this, but just brought up that this will be the first time for him since high school that he's got the same play caller for the offense. And what does that mean for you? And, how has that been, et cetera, et cetera. And he, in that question and at other points at the podium today, Zack, really tried to convey just how different it is for him this year. Like, Sean Payton even said how different Bo is this time because there's no download happening, right? It's more, and not only that, Zack, but all of the same dudes. Like Bo Nix in college is used to guys coming and going, this and that, transfer portal, this, but having all of his dudes, including his starting center back, like we could be in store for some greatness this year, Zack.
Yeah, Bo said something really encouraging today, and that was he's not thinking at all in his second season when he's going out there and practicing, Chad. He's just going out there and playing football. And like you said, not downloading the information, not learning the playbook. He's a year under Sean Payton's wing already. And you can, by the videos that the Broncos produced with some photos that came out, you could just see the command of the offense that Bo has and the jump he's already made going from year one to year two.
Shouts to the Duchess. Great to see you tonight, my friend. I hope you're hanging in there after everything that has happened with your mom and whatnot. So still thinking of you. Thoughts and prayers, my friend. It's great to see you tonight. I grabbed David. I was actually trying to grab this from James, a MHH writer. He's across the pond, though. That's one of the unique, I think, one of several unique aspects, Zack, of the MHH writing staff is we have two guys who do not live in the United States. that are across the pond, and it helps bring kind of a different perspective to things at times. So James, and he gives himself away because in his recategorization here, Zach, he uses an S instead of a Z, which is one of the many differences between American English and British grammar, I guess I should say. But James says, I feel like I've had to sell my spleen to score Bronco tickets in London. Hate the recategorization of ticket categories, blatant price gouging and such, but still happy to see the Broncos. That's great that you're going to be there, brother, and welcome. That's just the way it is nowadays, bro. Try getting tickets for people, like traveling from all over the place to go to the meet and greet and making sure people can get in. Most people, Zach, who make the trip to hang out with us, take care of their own ticket, but sometimes, whether it's for staffers or other people, they show up and I'm like, oh, you came from 1,500 miles away and you don't have a ticket to the game. You came to meet us, but no ticket. Have you ever been to a game? No, I haven't. Oh, now I got to find you a ticket. There's no way I can let you come and not go to the game. Things like that, Zach. Yeah, gouging is a thing. I feel your pain, James. Hang in there, though. It'll be a fun game.
I still remember you before the Steelers game. We were behind the gate, and you were just like handing out tickets to everyone like it was Christmas, Chad. So I thought that was very noble of you.
All right, but hey, also, we have been blessed and by so many superstars who have gifted us things. Not only some of the stuff you see behind me, but like games. What is it? Twice? Well, once off the top of my head, D-Dub, for example. I don't know. This was the first Russ year with Peyton. So the last Russ year, I guess. Wasn't it Scott 2023 that we had 2022, 23. But anyway, he put us up he had club seats right on the 50 and he's like, you guys got tickets? And we did have tickets. But he goes, I got 2 extra. And so Scott and I, Zach, you were doing your own thing. I don't remember how it shook out, but Scott and I went and sat with Dale and his family, and they were, trust me, I mean, I don't know the exact price tag, but if you look it up and try and find tickets right there, yeah, you're getting gouged for show. And he just was like, yeah, come hang out with us. It was awesome. So the tickets I had, I gave to other people too. So it's the way it goes, and we're very lucky. David, what's up, bro? Hey, guys, great to see you. Great to see you. Go Broncos. So glad we're getting back to business. You guys are the best. Go Bo Broncos. Thank you, David. Yeah, we're getting back to it for a second. So it's like psych. Just when you're thinking, oh, we can get into a rhythm, things are, nope, psych, because then you're going to get the 6-week NFL desert. Then we get training camp. Jimmy, what's up, bro? Says, hi, boys. I think he means to say can't hang out, but excited about OTAs. Yeah, Zach, let's get to some of the topics tonight. Actually, the main one I want to get to, and then we'll take care of some matters of business here, Zach, is the notable absence today. You had the article for us. Break it down. John Franklin Myers, Sean Payton addressed it.
Yeah, Sean Payton downplayed it. John Franklin Myers was not present for the OTA practice, the open portion to the media anyway, Chad, and he was not the only one. PS2 wasn't out there either, but PS2 isn't angling for a new contract like JFM is. So afterwards, Sean Payton said, we're all good. It's voluntary. Everything's fine. So he's not worried about it. And his agent said to Mike Kliss of 9 News that he never really goes to OTAs. He'll be there for the mandatory minicamp. And it sounds like this was all communicated to the team and Sean Payton in advance. So it's a non-story, and it'll only become a story if he doesn't show up to mandatory next month.
By the way, Scott's informing me. He says, hey, Facebook stream isn't playing for me. So I'm like, that's weird because it shows the green. We're connected. And sure enough, I'm not seeing too many comments. But then I go to it on my browser, Zach, and it's blacked out. So I wonder how many people are having a hard time seeing the show. That's really weird because there are many comments under the same thing and StreamYard today, they've been on my crap list, Zach, since basically Thanksgiving of last year, pissing me off. But thanks for hanging with us, guys. Just know this isn't us shucking responsibility. It's not our fault. It's outside our control in this particular instance. But guys, before we continue breaking down today's events, and trust me, we haven't even really gotten started on it. There's a lot to talk about. We got to talk first, though, about Underdog Fantasy, which is one of the best places to make picks during the basketball playoffs. Still raging, right? While they score buckets, you could score cash on Underdog, a leading place to make all your sports picks, and you can play now in your state. Millions of fans have already won billions making picks on Underdog. So ask yourself, will you be next? Their app has over 100,000 5-star reviews and millions of players.
And to play, choose whether a player will go higher or lower on one of their stats, be it points, assists, and so much more. Playing on Underdog is a layup. Just download the app, then pick higher or lower on player stats like points, assists, rebounds, and more. Whether it's the NBA playoffs or Major League Baseball, Underdog has what you need to get in on the excitement and win money. You can play with as little as $1, and if you get everything right, you could win up to 1,000 times your money. So turn $1 into $1,000 just with your sports knowledge.
Let's go. I've had so much fun playing Underdog, and of course the opportunity to win money while watching sports. I mean, it's a slam dunk. So download the Underdog app, sign up now using our promo code MHuddle to unlock that special offer of up to $1,000 in bonus cash when you make your first deposit. Join us and join in on that fun when you use our promo code MHuddle and claim your special offer today to get up to $1,000 in bonus cash instantly upon first deposit.
Must be 18 plus, 19 plus in Alabama, Nebraska, 19 plus in Colorado for some games, 21 plus in Massachusetts and Arizona, and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. Void in Colorado. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit ncpgambling.org. Arizona, call 1-800-NEXT-STEP or text NEXT STEP to 53342. New York, call the 24/7 Hope line at 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY.
All right, Zach, we get back to the topics at hand. For one thing I want to touch on is just kind of the reality check. Sometimes we get so caught up in the off-season moves and we get kind of elated, overly so maybe at times by a draft haul or a particular draft pick, and everyone's going, oh, RJ Harvey, pencil him in, RB1. Well, fast forward to OTAs, and he's really the third guy in the pecking order, which once you see it, and it's like the first time you go, well, yeah, duh, he's a rookie. I mean, even Bo Nix had to take snaps behind the two older guys last year at first, and then as the competitions that coalesced, then you start seeing movement. But you had mostly Audric Estime clearly getting the first touches, whether it's drills, the little team stuff they did, Zach, followed by Jaleel McLaughlin. Then you get RJ Harvey. What do you make of it?
I make it what I saw with my own eyes, and the Broncos put out a little video of the running backs at work chat, and I saw Estime go through the drills, and I saw RJ Harvey go through the drills, and it's just really night and day with what he can do and what he brings to the table. But Sean Payton also likes, I guess, experienced players or players that have seniority. And in this young backfield, Estime and McLaughlin do have seniority over Harvey. So no real surprise. It's going to be a committee. It's going to be a rotating system of running backs, but it's hard not to be impressed by physically what RJ Harvey brings to the table.
Yes. And we're going to, there's something Sean Payton said today about this very subject that we're going to get to here in just a second. But Sam, I just saw this comment. And it's interesting. He says, I didn't know Nix hasn't had the same play caller since high school. It's kind of weird, to be honest. It's honestly not that weird for a Bronco quarterback because remember, Zach, that was one of the long laments of the Drew Lock era. Rich Skangs, you get the chance with Skangs to be the first back-to-back play. Oh, snap. Fired. In comes Pat Shurmur. So what was that, Zach? Year 2 to 3 in the NFL was the first time for Drew Lock that he had that. I want to say it was since high school, but it might have been. I'm pretty sure it was since high school, Zach.
That's what I was thinking when I was reading the comment that Sam made here. I thought we went through the same thing with Drew going back to his days at Mizzou. But that's the difference between Bo Nix and Drew Lock is that even with all the uncertainty, one proved to be a franchise quarterback and the other is hanging around as a backup still.
Yeah, so back to the subject of Audric Estime. And honestly, this has me a lot more bullish and optimistic about how Estime fits this year instead of just kind of like that number 2, number 3 guy that's kind of pigeonholed or relegated to just the power back role. I could see it on Sean Payton's face, not only how, his vibe and his body language, Zach, but the actual content of what he said, that they have much bigger hopes and plans for Audric Estime. And here's what he said, Payton speaking on Estime today, quote, year 2, talking about what he hopes to see, okay, from Estime. Quote, year 2 for him, just running style and his physicality, the things that got him drafted, the things that we saw. It was a little harder for him last year for a handful of these guys. I don't want to say that the grade was incomplete, but they just didn't have enough touches. He's a back that requires enough touches, Zach, and then here's where the little underline goes. He's going to get those opportunities, close quote.
I still think, and I could be wrong, the Broncos, as much as Sean Payton reveres what Dan Campbell has done in Detroit, Chad, I still think they're going to set it up where RJ Harvey is going to be the Jahmyr Gibbs, and then Estime will be the David Montgomery. What I mean by that is Montgomery will play like every other series, short yardage, goal line, the big power back. But other than that, first down, passing downs, you're going to see a lot of RJ Harvey, and for good reason.
And I'm okay with that. Even if it ends up being that it takes Harvey a little bit longer to eat into the carries, I don't expect that to happen. Honestly, Zach, the best way to describe what Sean Payton's got cooking up at running back is, I think, something I've heard Eric not only say on these podcasts, Zach, but I've copy edited many articles where he's brought this up. And that is that in RJ Harvey through the draft, the Broncos, Sean Payton got himself his explosive joker running back, a guy who offers up the explosives, a guy who can contribute in the passing game with Bo Nix working the underneath alongside Evan Engram in that respect. Then you need your power guy, and that's where Audric Estime steps into the fold. And then you've got your slasher guy, and that's where Jaleel McLaughlin probably leads the way. He's the leader in the clubhouse. And it's also that role, Zach, that the likes of Bidet and Blake Watson, they'll compete for that third seat at the table. But all three of those guys, depends on the game, how much of the rep share each guy gets. But each one of those guys are going to be a factor in every single game plan.
I think inadvertently you made the case as to why the Broncos don't need Nick Chubb or Dobbins or another veteran running back, because I want to see the younger players, and Sean Payton definitely wants to see the younger players, and that's what they're going to roll into the season with.
You're absolutely right. I want to put a pin in that for a second, though, because that is finally the conclusion. The Duchess jumping in from the top rope. This is the airspace that she possesses and dwells in way up high. I mean, it's Mount Rushmore of MHH for a reason. Love you, Michaela. She says with a very generous super chat, thank you for all the love, family. I'm glad Bo is looking good, in command, and natural. He will be a star. I heard that Courtland Sutton should have a new contract by training camp. Much love. Yeah, so Bo Nix looked good, looks sharp by every measure. But again, even we're going to talk about what he said about RJ Harvey here in a minute, but just keep in mind, no pads, etc. But Zach, what have you heard on this Sutton rumor?
Well, first of all, thank you so much, Michaela. And like Chad said earlier, we're still thinking about you and we hope you're doing well. Anything that we can do, please let us know. And it's also very heartwarming to see how happy you are with the Broncos quarterback situation. We know before last April how stressed you were about figuring that out. But now that they did, it's all looking good. I was reminded by what George Payton said when I wrote the JFM article, and that, quote, how we do business. In other words, let's wait till after the draft, and it could happen in the summer, it can happen during the season. So nothing. I haven't heard anything, Michaela. I hope you're right that they're going to get Sutton done, if only to entrench Bo Nix's biggest weapon for the long term. But they do have JFM. They have Zach Allen, Benito, Malcolm Roach, a lot of other players they have to tend to as well. I would assume, Chad, they'll get on this, but sooner than later.
Sooner than later. I mean, if you look at how happy he was, like just being able to talk about the realization himself, Bo Nix, that like all of my guys are back. Like I've got all my guys back, and how crucial and important that is to him on top of the whole play caller continuity thing. And you look back through like Peyton Manning, for example, the Colts made sure to keep his core guys intact for the majority of his tenure in Indy. Marvin Harrison, Reggie Wayne, Dallas Clark. You had some running back, coming and going stuff, but Edgerrin James for a long stretch. And then what was 29? I'm spacing his name, dude. Doesn't matter. The other LSU running back that I can't remember off the top of my head right now. Some of you are screaming at your phones, but then you look at Denver. I'm got a point here. Peyton Manning arrives. These are no-name, unproven, young wide receivers. Not no-name, but unproven. Demaryius Thomas, he was a first-round pick, 2 years removed. Career high at that point was like 500 and change yards. Had the iconic moment in the playoffs, but unproven. Eric Decker, similar, had flashed this and that. Next thing you know, Zach, they are bona fide superstars. They're getting paid. They're making Pro Bowls, this, that, and the other. And the Broncos work to keep that core together. Drew Brees, same thing, man, had that core. So I think Sean Payton's been around long enough to recognize the importance of continuity when it comes to like the main characters in the supporting cast.
And they've locked down every other key offensive player. Like their left tackle's under contract. Quinn Minor is under a long-term contract. They just drafted RJ Harvey on a rookie deal. Courtland Sutton, they lock him up. That's taking care of their number one receiver. They signed Evan Engram. He's under contract for at least a couple seasons. So that's the beauty of structuring it this way. And George Payton deserves a ton of credit for doing just that.
By the way, Scott, excellent point that I'm just seeing now in the chat on the subject of play calling. Unless the head coach is the one calling plays, which thankfully it is for the Broncos, play callers change year to year. They're either good and get a new gig, right? They get promoted with a better opportunity somewhere else, not promoted, but right, upward mobility, or they're bad and they get fired. So yes, apropos, glad you brought up that point. All right, Zach, I want to talk about what Bo Nix said today about RJ Harvey. Kind of interesting. Pump the brakes in terms of, hey, I'm about to drop some knowledge on you, but let's keep it within the caveat of we don't have pads on, we're not hitting, etc. So he's asked about his initial impressions of RJ Harvey, and he says, quote, well, he's done a really good job working. He does a good job out of the backfield. It's hard to tell with shorts and T-shirts what it's like running the ball with no pads, but that's obviously why we got him. So we know he can run the ball, but I think it's the other things he's showing, just the routes, the suddenness and quickness and hands. I think all that's really good to see, but he's a great guy, a great dude, first and foremost. And I think it's going to translate for him being a successful player, close quote. So Zach, already RJ Harvey, even though he's initially as a rookie should, unless you're like the number 6 overall pick and your name's Ashton Genty, he's starting off number 3 on the depth chart, at least ostensibly, but he's making an impression on his quarterback by his suddenness, the route running, the quickness, the hands. Interesting.
It's also interesting to hear Bo Nix talk. He sounds more and more like Sean Payton, Chad. A little coach speak there, not being so quick to anoint RJ Harvey, kind of taking a measured approach and not saying he's going to be the no doubt starter and hyping him up and not too much inflating his ego or whatever. So I thought it was a very fair and insightful evaluation. I'm just really excited to see what RJ Harvey does with the ball in his hands.
But that quickness, the buzzwords that my eye kept landing on is the quickness and the suddenness thing. And if you go back and watch one of those clips, Zach, I mean, you can go watch his stuff at UCF all day long and see what I'm talking about. But in recent canon, if you go back to the rookie minicamp clips, which was only a few weeks ago, 2.5 weeks ago, whatever it was, Zach, but it shows the drill. It shows him doing a couple of handoff drills and a jump cut, and the speed and alacrity from which he converts from running in a straight line to, oh, something's in front of me, jump cut. And it's so fast, dude, that like you're going, whoa, what is that, a human being? So that's going to come in handy big time. Sam says with a second super chat. Thank you, brother. On the topic of backs, do you think Harvey, Estime, and McLaughlin will be the 3 backs on the 53-man roster going into week 1, barring an injury? I do. And that's where I want to circle back to what you said. I was like, as you guys know, for the last couple months, I'm like, yes, I'm stoked on RJ Harvey. Even before the draft, I'm like, hey, get a veteran just so you have a guy. Just the way it started to take shape, I don't think you need to. I really don't think you need to. Now, if something happened to one of those 3 guys, barring injury, as Sam Bam's saying here, but if something were to happen, maybe I'd be singing a different tune. But for now, I'm with you on that, Zach. You don't need to go find a veteran with 3 young, interesting guys on the rise who are now outside the shadow, so to speak, of Javonte Williams and Sean Payton. I think he's like kid in a candy store.
That's why Bo pointed out the suddenness so much, Chad, because he didn't see any of it last year with Javonte and company in the backfield. But we know what Nick Chubb is at this point of his career. We've seen his ceiling now. We know what Dobbins is, and they're both injury-prone players. We don't know what Audric Estime could be. We don't know Audric Estime's ceiling, and I do think Sean Payton wants to find out. It's one comment he's made over the course of the offseason, Chad, repeatedly, that I think he's genuine with. It's not coach speak.
You know, it's really weird. Again, I just checked on the Facebook stream because we're seeing comments and stars. It's not playing from a desktop browser. It's just a black screen. So it must be working on mobile, Scott. Have you looked at it on mobile? I wonder. Either way, hopefully it's just a transient weird thing tonight. We don't have to deal with it beyond this. But it's obvious StreamYard's doing some back-end stuff. So thanks for that, guys. Ronk, brother, so good to see you. Thank you for being with us. Good evening, Chad and Zach on the MHH podcast. Go Bo Broncos. Mile high salute right back at you, my brother. Ralph Bracegirdle, what's going on, big dog? Rocking the Schlereth 69, or maybe that's a Jared Valdir jersey. Zach, do you remember this old 69er Jared Valdir who was like 39 feet tall? Good afternoon, my priest, says Ralph. I'm late to the party. It warms my heart. The DT is going to be in the Ring of Fame. Only 99 days till football. Counting down is Ralph, and we're right there with you, big dog. But yeah, really cool news that's taken place over the week since we last were able to chat with you guys. Demaryius Thomas going into the Ring of Fame. Zach, how you feel about that?
There's nobody more deserving than DT. I'm so happy for him, happy for his family, happy for his many fans. I just wish, Chad, obviously he was here to be here for his own induction. He deserved that, and it's such a tragedy that his life was senselessly cut short like that.
I can think of so many iconic moments, and he was such a steady and consistent producer. I mean, people talk about the 5 straight Pro Bowls, most of which, and some people, critics, might explain it away by the Peyton Manning effect, which I can understand to a point. People going, yeah, well, was that your argument for Marvin Harrison? I'm just curious, Hall of Fame and all. But I'm digressing a little bit. It was after Peyton Manning retired, Zach, that Demaryius Thomas really showed his quality of play as a guy, his leadership, just the whole 9 yards. I mean, 1,000 yards with Trevor Siemian and Paxton Lynch throwing you the ball. I want to say 2017 off the top of my head. He came just a little bit shy of 1,000, which we all know how brutal that was. I'm just looking here. Yeah, 949. But still, let's just say that for a second, we'll count it 1,000 yards, Zach, 2017. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That would have been 6 straight 1,000-yard seasons, 2 of which were post Peyton Manning and with some of the worst quarterbacks in the league at that time. But when it comes to Demaryius Thomas, Zach, the iconic Tim Tebow catch, right, in overtime to beat the Steelers, he sets that Super Bowl record in Super Bowl 48. The only guy that appeared to have showed up on offense that day was Demaryius Thomas, and he played his heart out, set Super Bowl records. I'm not sure if they still stand. And then, of course, the triumph, Zach, of Super Bowl 50. The only thing that sticks in my craw a little bit with regard to Demaryius Thomas, look, your favorite guys, they're always – that day is going to come when they're not a Bronco anymore. But I hated how they traded him to a team that he had to then 3 days later join in Denver to face the Broncos. So literally his first game not as a Bronco was days after he was traded against the Broncos. That's the only thing. I'm like, really? Could you maybe helped him out or done it before you traded, like 2 weeks before you were going to play the Texans? But I'm digressing here. I'm super stoked, if you can't tell, for DT to go to the Ring of Fame. And I hope, Zach, my last thing here, and then I'll serve it back, this can maybe start a groundswell to start building him a little momentum for the actual Pro Football Hall of Fame, which I can argue, I'll get into it if you guys want, why he qualifies.
In terms of his Hall of Fame case, the only things working against him, you mentioned one, the Broncos being so irrelevant in the post-Peyton Manning era, so bad that he was lost in that fray. And also the level of competition he had at receiver in his era, Chad. There were Hall of Famers playing among him and future Hall of Famers playing among him. So he kind of, again, even though he was playing with Peyton, he put up the numbers, he didn't have the same cachet as a Larry Fitzgerald or a Calvin Johnson, Andre Johnson. There were just so many. Reggie Wayne, so many. But those who know. And if there was a hall of very, 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 very good, DT would be first ballot. I just don't think he had that last little bit of national push to get him that. Just being realistic.
I'll be frank. And what's up, Gene? Good to see you, big dog. Looks like the whole family of the Brace Girdles and the Williams and the Thielens are all in the house, which is great to see. Yo, he says, hope y'all are doing great. Good to catch a show. Glad to have you with us, bro. But I will acknowledge and agree with you that people got to keep their expectations in check relative to any possible future induction for DT for the Pro Football Hall of Fame. But if you look at the era in which he played, so let's just say, the 20 teens, can you tell the story of the NFL without Demaryius Thomas? Maybe you could make an argument. You can go back, Zach, and look at some of the other prolific receivers of that period, but the Broncos won 5 straight division titles with him as the wide receiver 1, 2 AFC crowns, went to a Super Bowl, or won a Super Bowl. The first Super Bowl that they didn't win, he sets a record. 5 times in a row to the Pro Bowl, pre-Peyton Manning quarterback incompetence, post-Peyton Manning quarterback incompetence. I agree with you that the likelihood of it happening, Zach, is pretty slim with the way they seem to qualify this. And the other thing going against DT for the Hall is that he didn't reach the 10,000 club. How big of a deal is that really? I mean, Rod Smith, how much has that really helped or availed Rod Smith in his push for the Hall of Fame? But anyway, let's not worry about Hall of Fame. Let's celebrate the fact that DT's going up in the rafters at Mile High. It's going to be dope. Triple C in the house saying, awesome for the Ring of Fame for DT. I hope he makes the Hall someday also. I know, dude. I know. I mean, think about this, guys. John Elway was inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame in 2004. By that point, the Denver Broncos were, as an NFL thing, 4 decades in. They had been to 6 Super Bowls with 2 victories. So they were 2-4 in the Super Bowl. And he was the first Bronco ever in 2004, Zach, to be enshrined in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. To this day, and, look, the Pro Football Hall of Fame has started to make up some of that ground. There was some, from Terrell Davis is when the tides kind of started to turn, and then you got Champ Bailey in, then you got Steve Atwater in, then Mr. B, the late Mr. B, etc. But the Broncos, Zach, I'm sorry, they're still, for how much of the story of the NFL this franchise has told themselves, they are still woefully underrepresented in the Hall. And I'm hopeful that guys like Rod Smith, Demaryius Thomas, very deserving that one day they'll be able to get in, because there are guys that are in that Hall of Fame, Zach, maybe not apples to apples in terms of position, but relative impact, time and tenure in the league, et cetera, accolades that don't hold a candle to the accomplishments of someone like DT.
Well, to be fair, I think you can tell the story of the NFL without DT, but you can't tell the story of the Broncos without DT, and that's why he's in the Ring of Fame. But I would rather, let's focus on getting maybe Mike Shanahan in first. He's, I think, more deserving, and you really can't tell the NFL story without Mike Shanahan, Chad. So you're right, there's still a backlog, but got to be honest, I think Shanahan should get in before DT.
I'm with you on the Shanahan thing. Like, what the heck, guys? But I think we know why he's getting short shrift. It's because he's still basically coaching in the league. He's still basically involved in the league through the Niners and his son. Like, he needs to, if he cares that much, and who knows, I don't know how much Mike Shanahan, Zach, cares about his Hall of Fame candidacy, but if he did, he's got to make it clear that he's not involved in anything that the Niners have cooking, because even though on an official basis he's not, there's been a lot of media over the last couple of years about tangential, unofficial involvement with certain things at Niners HQ. So, but dude, yeah, I think he could help himself by just going, okay, son, you got this. All right, I'm out. Call me on Sunday. Call me every day, but like, I can't be involved in this, that, or the other.
It's just wild that he would have to jump through those hoops to get in, Chad. I mean, what more does he have to do in terms of resume to make the most sacred place in all of football? Great point, dude. Excellent point. And let's jump back into the chat here. Colby, thank you again, big dog. Great to see you. Gene says, oh, sorry, Mr. Producer. Gene says,
he could be DT Hall of Fame based off of personality. DT made my childhood. Dude, I could continue to assert the argument, and there is a very grounded counter to it, which I get. And Zach is basically making it today, and I get it. But you look at DT, one of the distinguishing factors in the DT case for the Hall of Fame, aside from what we've already touched on, Zach, is how he performed in the postseason. And it's not just that, oh, he put up this average of many yards in this many games or whatever, but like iconic stuff like the Tebow play, walk-off touchdown in overtime. Not just, hey, I ran a good route over my shoulder, caught this ball, I outran somebody, but like running a slant underneath, stiff arming a cat, then going 80 yards to the house. I mean, it was awesome. Also, his record in the Super Bowl, granted in a losing effort, but nevertheless, he's got footprints, Zach, in all the main sectors that you look for when it comes to Hall of Fame worthiness. So don't go expecting it per se, but I'm still holding out hope, and I think a groundswell could help at a certain point. But he's, what is it, Zach? It'll be 4 years this December since, right? 2021. Yeah, 4 years this December since he passed. So RIP DT.
I don't want to come off like hating on DT or hoping.
No, and you're not. You're not.
All I want to say that I agree with you. Let's celebrate the fact that he's in the ring, and it's long overdue, and no one more deserving. So congratulations to his family.
When was Julio's last year, Scott? I'm gonna look it up. Hold on. Yeah, Julio is another guy. You can't tell the story of the 20 teens without him. Yeah, he'll get in.
Should have had a ring.
Yeah, he'll get in. But his last year was 2023 for what it's worth. So he's just got a little bit of a wait ahead of him. Hey, what's up? Oh, he says, that's a trick question because he's broken down for the last 4, but he's been broken down for the last year. I got you. Max Rio, what's going on, big dog? Up there north of the 49th parallel, Canada, evening Broncos country. Great to see you, big dog. Appreciate you being with us. Yeah, Ronk, I don't want to turn this entire episode into a Hall of Fame worthiness episode, but yes, Rod Smith has an even stronger case for the Hall than the late Demaryius Thomas. But Zach, let's get back to today. Broncos open things up. Just a few other things, takeaways you might want to share, because we're doing okay time-wise. We're at about, there it is, 37 minutes. But any other key takeaways for you up to this point?
Yeah, one that I tweeted about before the podcast, Sean Payton was asked about Marvin Mims taking a jump last season, and he name-dropped one receiver in Troy Franklin that he says he expects an ascension out of. And the quote here is, there are a number of young players competing, not so much for roster spots, but competing for touches. He's one of them. So don't go throwing away your, what's he, number 14 now, number 11? I know he changed from 16.
11.
So don't go throwing away your 11 jerseys out, because despite Pat Bryant, despite Devon Vele, Courtland Sutton, Mims, they do have a role for Troy Franklin. And I thought him specifically naming him, Chad, was interesting.
It is very interesting. I'm just double checking that real quick on the 11. Yeah, that's his new number. Wasn't that what he rocked in college, if memory serves? Wasn't he 11? What's up, Kirk? Toronto, Canada. What's going on up there? See, Broncos country. It's not a geographic location, baby. It's a state of being. Great to see our Canadian friends. Zach, on that subject of wide receivers and turning corners, Sean Payton today also talked about Marvin Mims. He said, quote, "We saw him take a big step in the middle of the year last season. I think you're going to see those type of ascensions." This is the full quote. "With other players like Troy Franklin, there are a number of young players competing not so much spots."
Sure, me up too.
Not so much spots, but competing for, I don't know if that's a typo, but anyway, competing for touches. So you've got two potentially, my point here, Zach, besides giving everybody the full quote, is two potentially ascending wide receivers, and a Pat Bryant coming in, and an Evan Engram, who Bo Nix was singing some of his praises today too, we can get into before we dip out. So, and Bo Nix, force multiplying effect of, got the year of experience. I started 18 games when you count the playoffs. I've got all my guys. I got some upgrades, and I got coaching continuity. I'm loaded for bear on this hunt. Let's go.
And yet PFF ranks him based on career trajectory, Chad, 19 overall. People actually think he's going to suffer through a sophomore slump. People think the Broncos are going to win less games than they won last season. Unbelievable.
It's fair to question if you're ignorant or you're like a surface fan, or maybe you cover the NFL, but you're trying to cover 32 teams. It's still ignorance, nevertheless. To say, oh, he could fall prey to a sophomore slump just because it's easy to say that. He's a second-year guy, Zach, and you have the recent example of CJ Stroud, who, yes, a little bit of a step back, but let's not make too much out of that. He still had a good year, still led his team well into the playoffs, won a playoff game. So let's not make too much about the CJ Stroud regression and sophomore slump. But people omit the most obvious factor. Yes, the continuity from the supporting cast, great, stoked on that. But it's not only the fact, Zach, that it's the coaching continuity and the play calling, but who that coach is. And it's Sean Payton, dude. Okay, it's Sean Payton. You think a Sean Payton quarterback, a handpicked guy is, who, by the way, what you've seen from him up to this point, you are actually writing home about. You're going, dang, dude, he's got a new Drew Brees and he can run. He's bigger, stronger, faster, new Drew Brees. That's all we heard before the draft or after the draft, Zach. Then you see the season. It's like, that's exactly what Bo Nix is, basically. How could you even think that he's going to take a step back? The only thing that's going to impede Bo Nix, or that could, I should say, let me clean up my grammar, would be an injury. And that ain't going to happen.
You mentioned something a second ago that's so true. The low-hanging fruit they take by saying sophomore slump simply because he's a sophomore. And they point to CJ Stroud because on the surface, he didn't have the same season as a rookie. But I had Stroud as my fantasy quarterback, so I know what he went through last season, Chad. They allowed 49 sacks. That's the fourth most in the NFL. I don't care who you are. I don't care if you're Patrick Mahomes. If you're allowing that many sacks and that much pressure, you're going to have a bad year. The Broncos don't have to worry about that. The Broncos offensive line is returning all 5 starters, as you mentioned earlier, Chad, and they've upgraded their supporting cast significantly. So what slump?
Amen to that. But, man, let's keep it on the subject of the weapons here. And let me find Bo Nix real quick in his comment. We talked about what he said on Harvey. Here's what he said about building chemistry, Zach, with Evan Engram. Quote, it starts by getting to know him, see what makes him tick, what makes him go, what his passions are. It's very clear from the beginning that he's all about football and he's all about taking care of himself. He's been here since he was signed, getting ready and preparing. That's been fun to see. So I've gotten to be around him a lot. Then we just started working on the field early on in OTAs. You get to come out here, throw routes, and just see what it's like, see what kind of routes he runs, see what he's thinking. We talk a lot. That's very good to hear. He's always asking me about certain things. When you get him out to practice, it's just seeing how he reacts. I'm excited to include him and add him to what we already have. I think it'll be good for us, close quote, Zach.
One thing I'm noticing based on their draft classes and their free agent signings, Sean Payton and George Payton go after football players that are about football. Not about themselves, not about the money, not about the accolades, but about helping the Broncos become better. And knowing that Evan Ingram's been there from the first thing in the morning to the last one at night, those kind of cliches, it's very encouraging. And the Broncos even shared a picture of Engram in action, Chad, sporting his new number 1. And knowing what we suffered through with Adam Troutman and Lucas Krull and Nate Adkins, having a bona fide tight end now is very exciting.
Gene jumping, amen to that, bro. Gene jumping in again saying, how do we feel about the rumor of us possibly trading for the Jags RB1? Well, here's the thing, pal. It's not a rumor. It's people going like, hey, this guy could be available. Jags could be looking to move on. Broncos don't have a veteran to speak of connecting the dots. Zach, you even wrote about this, right, with Etienne. So you explain it to Gene.
I was going to say, Gene, this is probably my fault. I think it was the Giraffe Network that suggested the Broncos trade for Etienne among the Ravens and the Vikings, 3 teams that should make a play for him. And that was just based on the fact that, like Chad said, they don't have anyone proven in front of or behind RJ Harvey, and they don't really know the writer of that story. They don't really know that the Broncos like Audric Estime a lot. They like Jaleel McLaughlin a lot. I don't see it happening. Like we talked about earlier, they have who they're going to war with, and that's not going to change.
Indeed. This time of year, guys, one of the ways we keep the lights on is we write about what credible sources around NFL media are saying about the Broncos. It's called aggregation. All right. And there are times, this is definitely one of them, Zach, where we'll take an aggregation story that 99.9% of Broncos fans haven't heard of, but it's a credible source and it's fun. And it's like, not rumor per se, but just like, hey, certain guy pounds table or links to this guy or whatever. And then all of a sudden, before you know it, then we write it, we share it, and boom, we have such a large audience and such a deep reach that all of a sudden it's the conversation. So we do take that into consideration as well, but keep that in mind. Those of you who are actually in the room, some of the aggregation stuff you'll see us do, it keeps the lights on for us in the off season, but take it for what it is. All right. It's not reporting on a rumor. It's not reporting on insider info. It's just kind of fun speculation this time of year.
It's survival of the fittest this time of year, and coming up in the 6-week slog in late June. And Scott's right here. Speculation becomes rumors, and aggregation becomes speculation, and that kind of sets that off. So nothing really to see here with ETN.
It really is survival of the fittest, and we always survive. So that's thanks to you guys. And we've been around the block a time or two. We know how this sausage gets made in this game. We've been doing it a long time together now. So, all right, Zach, I'm circling back to see. It was kind of fun getting to really hear from Talanoa Hufanga today. What were I don't know if you got to see his presser, but did you have any impressions?
First of all, if you watch him out there, the Broncos shared a video. It's literally like a Troy Polamalu 2.0. The hair, his play style, very fast, very energetic, very electric. And he talked about that. That's what stood out to me. Not only that he signed with the Broncos because of Bo Nix, but that he loves violence, he loves hitting, and he loves playing in the NFL because, like he said, it's free violence where you're not going to get in trouble for hitting someone. So you talk about needing a dog in the back end of that defense, you got a dog in Hufanga.
Legal violence, legalized violence. I love it, no doubt. Or the way, how does he say it? Pat McAfee, a Polamalu. I got Troy Polamalu after me. Next thing I know, I look up and there's Polamalu. All right, but Pat McAfee aside, he did bring up Hufanga today. Troy Polamalu a couple of times, but here's one in particular. He talks about how much of a Polamalu fan he was growing up and how he kind of modeled his game after him. And then, of course, helps to have the hairstyle too, Zach, that matches. But one interesting thing, because, of course, one of the concerns with with Hufanga, along with Greenlaw, which, by the way, they were locker mates in San Francisco. They're locker mates again in Denver, which is cool to hear. But you've got the injury component, right? And the doubts and the questions. And, well, yeah, you could really have something if these guys can stay healthy. And he shared some insight, part of which he explained came from something Polamalu, the Hall of Famer, said to him. And he said, quote, on working his way back from injury, quote, injury is part of the game. Troy Polamalu always told me it's 100% injury rate regardless. For you to go in, you have to understand what comes with it. So every injury that I've come along, I think it's just a testament of who I am to battle through adversity, through those moments, something I've taken in and I wear on my sleeve when I go out on the field, close quote. And Zach, it's actually very insightful. I mean, this is a guy that lives it every single day, the whole NFL thing, but it's like when we get halfway through the season, right? You've heard us say this on the podcast many times. Nobody's completely healthy. Everybody's a little bit dinged up, even the quarterbacks by that point. Like they're not 100% doesn't exist. And you could even argue, Zach, it doesn't exist before the season starts because guys start pulling things, getting nicked, getting dinged in training camp and preseason. So I think it was very insightful what he learned from Troy Polamalu, that there is no such thing as 100% in the league.
Injuries are a part of the game too, Chad. And, I don't know that a lot of Broncos fans know this about the Niners, but their strength and conditioning program isn't the best. A lot of Niners fans on Twitter that I see, I only bring this up because Ricky Pearsall, the receiver, picked up a soft tissue injury today for the Niners, and every Niners fan was talking about how injury prone their players are. It got me to think about Dre Greenlaw, got me to think about Hufanga, and I get it. They might be injury prone. They might get re-injured, God forbid, with the Broncos, but the Broncos have something the Niners might don't. And that's the strength and conditioning program. That's the weight training program. That's the guys that have kept the team so healthy the last couple seasons. So it's still a hope. It's still luck, mostly, to get through the season without injury. I do think Hufanga and Greenlaw are better off now, Chad, being under the embrace of Dale Dalrymple and company.
Amen. I thought it was cool, too, how Hufanga acknowledged the safety legacy, which is considerable, that the Broncos have. I mean, you can go way back. I'll just keep it to like the safeties of my youth, which were, Mike Harden, then Dennis Smith and Steve Outwater, then Steve Outwater, Tyrone Braxton. But you got, Brian Dawkins played here 2 years, Hall of Fame. I mean, he basically went in as an Eagle and remains that. But John Lynch, right, 4 years that he spent here, Hall of Fame. And Hufanga talked about that, and I think that's cool. He said he just met Steve Outwater just barely for the first time, so that's good.
Yeah, the Broncos have a rich tradition, rich history of safety play, and even recently Simmons and Brandon Jones, for that matter. Yes. So I think Hufanga is going to be the next installment of those great safeties.
I'm just skimming through here to see if we maybe missed something significant today. I think we've pretty much hit on the main Drew Sanders. Okay, not exactly breaking news, but it's worth a quick convo, okay? And then I'm going to hop back into the StreamYard side. I don't even know what's happening over there right now. But, hey, Coach, has the vision for Drew Sanders' position changed? Quote, no, the vision is clear. Inside linebacker. We think he's a pressure player as well. So, obviously, there's ways where you can pressure that guy from a stack position or to an outside position. He's doing well handling it, close quote. So, Zach, he's going to probably be the next linebacker on the field, even if you've got Singleton and Greenlaw health willing, which, by the way, he was out there, Singleton, today on the field doing stuff. Really good to see that. And he kind of made that prediction of whatever it was, Zach, like a week and a half ago. So it's really cool to see that come true. But my point here is, even if Singleton and Greenlaw manage to stay healthy, you're going to still see a lot of Drew Sanders on the field, certain packages, because, as he mentioned, yeah, you could line him up on the edge and have him chase a quarterback, or you could line him up from the stack position, meaning like an inside linebacker, and let him kind of sift through and find a hole in blitz and all that. So you're going to see Drew Sanders this year, Zach, whether he's a starter or not, I expect.
I still think anything they can get out of him will be a bonus, Chad, but I would much prefer to see Sanders on the field than Sternad under any circumstance. And I know I sound like a hater, but Sanders spelled Sternad. I can't remember what game. Was it the Chargers game, the second Chargers game? Sanders comes in for one play. He's blitzing and gets a sack. I want to see more of that, and I think they can utilize him correctly on passing downs.
Well, shoot, even his rookie year, he played a very small number of snaps. One of them, he recovered a fumble. Like, he's just a guy that he's always around the ball, but the problem for him, Zach, is a little bit of misfortune with regard to the injury bug. Like Patrick says here, are you hurt or are you injured? Two completely different things. And then also a lack of positional clarity. But that has since, Zach, cleared up as of like late last season. Basically from the time he came in off the PUP list. I think it was PUP, not IR. Either way, from the time he hit the roster late season, that point moving forward, the Broncos had decided, we learned this back during, was it the combine, I think, Zach? But he's an inside linebacker henceforth.
Yeah, and I'm not holding my breath on anything they're going to get out of Sanders, but I am happy they're confining him to one position and not forcing him to learn both. So God willing, he can take the next step forward now.
Patrick, great to see you, buddy. And also a tip of the cap to Clayton on Facebook. What's going on, big dog? Yeah, smash the like button, share. We appreciate it. Ronk, great show tonight. Chad and Zach on the Mile High Huddle podcast. Go Broncos. Thank you, my brother. We got a few messages for you. Then we're going to take one last look at the chat. Then we're going to dip. So don't go anywhere.
Tremendous episode, as always, of the Mile High Huddle podcast. If you're not doing so, please follow us on Twitter at the MHH Pod. You can follow the main account on Twitter at Mile High Huddle. Chad at Chad and Jensen, myself at Kelberman NFL, and Scott, our producer, at Scout Kennedy. If you guys want some merch like we're rocking each and every single podcast, check out mhhmerch.com and get you some. If you haven't done so yet, please drop us a like at facebook.com/milehighhuddlepod. You can find us on Instagram at mile_high_huddle. If you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, make sure you're leaving your football priest a 5-star review for a chance to win some merch each and every single month. But if anything, y'all, please, very important as always, that you subscribe, you like, you share this video and every video you see on the MHH channel. It really helps us grow and reach more Broncos fans just like you.
Amen. Gene, thank you, pal. Thanks. Really appreciate it. Great show as always. He says, have a great night. You too, my buddy. Really appreciate you. I'm just taking one last gander here to see if we missed anything. Patrick says, Zadeh Barron, Patrick Surtain, or Ray Crockett, Tyrone Braxton. Who do you take? Oof, that's tough. Braxton was a guy that started as a corner, then moved to safety late in his career. Barron is completely unproven, but Surtain has already, in a short period of time, far eclipsed either of those guys. Even though they did contribute to world championships on an individual level, he's quadrupled what they were able to do. Accolades-wise, I'm saying, okay, as a duo. I'm going to err on Barron and Surtain, Zach, on this particular equation. What about you?
I'm taking the reigning defensive player of the year. Yeah, when it's all said and done, Patrick Surtain will go down as one of the best cornerbacks, not just in Broncos history, but in NFL history. You're talking about a future Hall of Famer, potentially.
Ronk says, a lot of Broncos country are buying Harvey and Barron Bronco jerseys with the 37 and the 12. They might regret it if they change their numbers. We've been telling people, pump the brakes within the sound of our voice. Don't buy their jerseys yet. Hey, especially your first-round pick. People are excited, Zach. They want to go get the jersey. They're
doesn't even want to wear it.
They're going to change that. But maybe it becomes vintage like the old Huddle Up podcast hats, right?
Barron doesn't even want to wear 12. Paxton Lynch's old number. He wants whatever he wants. But yeah, that's why I always caution, wait until like after the 53 comes out or the last week of the preseason when the numbers are finalized, and then go out and get those jerseys.
All right, a mile high salute and a special shout out to the great Super Chat superstars and supporters helping us truly this time of year, even more so, keep the lights on, like the Duchess from the tippity top rope.
Thank you, Michaela.
Love and prayers still with you, Michaela. You know we love you and the community's behind you. Sam Bam, multiple supers, the Papa Bear, much love, brother. David Hicks, good to see you. Jimmy Thielen, the Ronk, legendary. Ralph Bracegirdle, Gene William, if I can find him, there he is. Patrick, much love and respect, guys. Zach and I are off. By the way, Broncos are done. They started on Tuesday. So today was day 3. Sean Payton, he just doesn't play well with the media, man. He gives us barely any access. Today, 3 guys at the podium, 2 if you don't count Payton. So, Zach, then we got, when's the next one? Is it next week?
The 5th, yeah.
Yeah, so next week we get another one. Then 2 weeks after that is mandatory minicamp. Then it's the NFL desert. So we still have some stuff to look forward to, but we will be breaking all this stuff down in depth in the written form at milehighhuddle.com today, tomorrow, through the weekend. So make sure you guys are staying up to date on that stuff. And Zach and I will see you on Sunday. Stoked.
Have a great rest of your Thursday. Great start to your weekend. We will see you Sunday night. Take care. And as always, go Broncos.